How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. You have to invite failure if you want to experiment. Now, I keep talking about this about, after drinking. Before drinking doesn't really matter, right? It's gone, it's in the past, it makes no difference, right? There's no point in having regrets about it. All that energy and focus should be pushed forwards, right, of what you're going to do now, because that's the most important thing. That's the thing that's going to keep you away from alcohol. It's the thing that's going to keep you sane. It's the thing that's going to keep your brain from freezing up and focusing backwards where it shouldn't be. And it's the thing that's going to keep you driving yourself forwards, right? So with any experiment, with any trying new things, you have to sort of, as I say, get outside your comfort zone, right? You've got to push yourself into different areas and experiment with things that you wouldn't otherwise be doing, right? And, one of the biggest hurdles to experimentation and to trying new things is the fear of failure. And people will always sort of think, well, do I dare do this? Do I dare say this? Do I dare go there? What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? What happens if I fail? What happens if I make a fool out of myself, right? What happens if I don't like it? What happens if I really like it and I decide that I can't do it? These are all considerations. And there's some things that you're going to experiment with and you're going to put some time and effort into. And after you've put that time and effort into, you realize that you didn't really want to do them in the first place, or it's just not for you, or it's been a complete disaster, or whatever it is. And that sucks, it's just, that's a part of life. It's a part of experimentation. It's a part of finding that new life for yourself and moving forwards. And it can be the easiest thing then to turn around and go, well, what do I normally do in cases when my life is turning upside down? When I'm doing something that I don't like, when I'm in discomfort, I normally turn to the whiskey or the wine or the beer or whatever it is. So it takes a lot of courage to move forwards and to take the failure and to take the disappointment of putting all that effort into doing something and still, stepping back and going, right, fair enough, I didn't try that, now I'll go for plan B. A lot of life before you quit drinking revolved around doing the same thing. There was something happened in your life and then the response was to drink alcohol. And going back to my life before I quit drinking, there were so many different things that as something happened, as that one thing happened, like I didn't feel relaxed, or I felt shit, or when I finished work, or when I was hungry, or when I was thirsty, or so many different things that as an event happened in my life or happened in my mind, and that event came out with a reaction, not even a response, it was an automatic reaction. As soon as I was tired, bang, go for a beer. As soon as I finished work, bang, go for a beer. As soon as I couldn't sleep, or I felt I couldn't sleep, get some wine out of the cupboard and have a couple of glasses of that, and that would solve the problem, As soon as there was a problem I couldn't solve, bang, go for a beer. As soon as there was a problem I didn't want to solve, go for a beer. All of those things happened in my life, and there was that automatic response. So then when I finished, it was like these things were still firing off, right? These events and the automatic reaction was still firing off, but I couldn't do that anymore. So it was like stop and then hitting a brick wall. What do I do? I didn't know anything else to do. That is the big problem of stopping drinking, especially when you've been doing it for a long time, is because your world is so encompassed within this tight reaction that it's difficult to find something else to do. So what do you do? And that's where experimentation comes in. As far as I'm concerned, there is the quit day, right? For me, it's T day, T, transformation day, right? From that day onwards, it's all about trying new things. And everything is an experiment, because there is nothing that you can fall back on. If you fall back on the old life, then what happens? You fail and you go back to the drink. So you have to find new things to do all the time, to experiment and experiment and experiment. And the only way to do this is to have many different, they say, throw enough shit at the wall and some of it will stick. That's your mentality. That's what you've got to do, right? In a cleaner way than that. But that's basically what you have to do. You've got to make a list of all the things that you want to try or that you can think of that might interest you. And you've got to try those things, right? You've got to try one thing at a time, right? Don't go all out and try too many things at one time, right? Just try one thing at a time, maybe two things at one time, go in two different directions at one time, and just do it bit by bit by bit. Take a little step forward and a little step forward, and then maybe take a step back and take a breather and see how far you're going and see what you think of it, right? But take it bit by bit by bit, one step at a time. And try many things. And if it fails, who gives a shit, right? It's failed. It's a failure. You just chalk it off and you go, right, that's one thing I didn't want to go. That's one thing less on your list. That's one thing that you can look at and go, well, yeah, at least I know I don't want to do that anymore. At least I know I don't want to do that anymore. The biggest thing is don't be afraid of it, right? It's all right going into it with a little bit of fear, right? A little bit of tingly and going, ooh, yeah, this is making me nervous, right? But nervous energy is good, right? It pushes you forward, right? It can pull you forwards. But don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. The fear is all in here. All the fear is inside your head. It doesn't exist in the outside world, Try different places. Go to different places. Try meeting different people, different types of people in different walks of life, right? Don't just stick to the people that you've already met over the years. When I was a drinker, all my friends were all drinkers, heavy drinkers, right? Because that's what I wanted to surround myself with. That's what I did. And I was embarrassed to be around other people, I mean, when you're a heavy drinker and you're around people who aren't heavy drinkers, right? And you're drinking 2 drinks for their 1 drink, it's embarrassing, right? It's embarrassing when you get pissed drunk at the end of the night. It's embarrassing, some of the shit that comes out of your mouth. Now, having said that, I know a lot of people who are not really heavy drinkers, and all it takes is for them to have a few drinks and they start coming out with a lot of shit, right? Some people just come out with a lot of shit anyway. It's just a fact of life. So don't be afraid of trying different places, putting yourself into different situations, meeting different people. Don't be afraid of any of this kind of stuff, Push yourself just gradually outside of your comfort zone into your discomfort zone a little bit, right? And don't be afraid of failure, Failure is good. I mean, failure means that you're essentially heading in the right direction. Or if you failed at something and you didn't like doing what you've done and you step back, it means that you've just cut off a direction that you knew or that you know now that you didn't want to go down, So don't be afraid of any of that stuff. So just think about this from the perspective that in order to succeed in this journey, in this quitting drinking alcohol, in pushing yourself forwards into your new life, you've got to accept that failure is an inevitability, right? You've got to invite it on, because if you don't sort of grasp failure and see failure as a learning experience, right, then, you're just going to sit down on the couch and do nothing, right? And once you do that, once you resign to doing nothing and never trying to push yourself forwards again, then it's only going to be a matter of time before you start drinking again, or you start looking for some release in some other way, right? In some way that you already know works, right? So anyway, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, and until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Stay safe, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, onwards and upwards. Take care of yourself. Good luck.